Be Obsessed or Be Average, by Grant Cardone. Introduction. Imagine for a moment, a young man, just 25 years old. But he's not a vibrant 25. He's broken. Financially, emotionally, spiritually. He's lost. He shows up at his mother's house one weekend, his words slurring, his body weighed down by the drugs he's been using to escape a life he hates. His mother, the person who loves him most in this world, looks at him with a mix of heartbreak and exhaustion, and she delivers the ultimate ultimatum. She says, "Don't come around here anymore until you get your life together." For most people, that would be the end of the story. A final, crushing blow. But for this young man, it was the beginning. That moment of hitting absolute rock bottom was the solid ground he needed to push off from. That young man was Grant Cardone. And the story of how he went from that broken, addicted 25-year-old to a globally recognized CEO with a business empire worth hundreds of millions of dollars isn't a story about luck, or timing, or some special genius. It's a story about one, single, powerful idea. An idea that our society has tried to label as a disease, a flaw, a problem to be fixed. That idea is obsession. Today, we're diving into his explosive book, Be Obsessed or Be Average. This isn't just a business book, it's a permission slip. A permission slip to unleash that relentless, non-stop, can't-sleep ambition that you've probably been told to tone down your whole life. Cardone's message is simple and brutal. That feeling you have, that gnawing sense that you're capable of more, that voice that tells you average is a nightmare. That's not a character flaw. It's your greatest gift. By the end of our time together, you will understand the secret mindset that separates the titans of industry from the people who just get by. You'll learn how to take what the world calls an addictive personality and turn it into your superpower. And you will be given the tools to stop fighting your own ambition and start feeding it, so you can build the life you were truly meant to live. This is the story of how obsession can save your life, just like it saved his. Book summary. Let's start with a foundational truth that Grant Cardone builds his entire philosophy on. Most of us are raised with a certain set of beliefs about success in life. We're taught to be grateful for what we have, to not be too greedy, to seek balance, and to settle comfortably into the middle class. It's a well-intentioned script, passed down from one generation to the next. Cardone experienced this firsthand, and it nearly broke him. His father was an ambitious man, obsessed with providing for his family and achieving the American dream. And for a while, he did. He bought his family a beautiful home on a lakefront property, a symbol that they had made it. But just a year and a half later, tragedy struck. His father died suddenly, leaving his mother a widow with 5 children and a scarcity mindset forged in the Great Depression. Overnight, the dream collapsed. The house was sold, and the family moved into a tiny brick house in the city. The new family obsession became one of fear and conservation. His mother, trying to protect her children, was constantly clipping coupons, worrying about expenses, and reminding them to be grateful for their middle-class life, because so many others had less. But for a young Grant, this didn't feel right. He wasn't grateful. He was angry. He saw the middle class not as a safe harbor, but as a trap, a life lived in a constant state of worry, just one emergency away from disaster. At 16, he made a vow to his mother, "When I grow up, I'm going to get rich so I never have to worry about not having enough money. And when I do, I'm going to help a lot of people." This is the first critical lesson. The world will try to sell you on the safety of average. It will tell you that your big dreams are unrealistic, that your ambition is a form of greed. But Cardone argues that average is a failing formula. He points to studies showing that the vast majority of Americans, many with solid middle-class incomes, are living paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, and disengaged from their jobs. Average, he says, is not safe. It's the most dangerous place you can be. Now, what happens when you have this burning fire inside you, this obsession for something more, but the world keeps telling you to put it out? For Cardone, the result was disastrous. Unable to channel his ambition into something productive, he turned it toward something destructive. He fell in with the wrong crowd, and by the time he was 19, he had a massive, daily drug problem. He graduated college with an accounting degree he never intended to use and $40,000 in debt. He was the black sheep of the family, a cause of concern for everyone who loved him. He had taken his natural, powerful drive, his obsession, and because he denied its true purpose, it twisted into a force that almost killed him. This brings us to the core of his message. You are going to be obsessed with something. The only question is whether that obsession will build you up or tear you down. When you resist your call to greatness, that powerful energy has to go somewhere. For him, it went into drugs. For others, it might go into fantasy football, video games, destructive relationships, or endless social media scrolling. These aren't necessarily bad things in moderation, but when they become the primary outlet for your drive, they are symptoms of a suppressed ambition. The turning point for Cardone came after that painful ultimatum from his mother. He checked himself into a rehabilitation facility. But the advice he received there was almost as destructive as the drugs. A counselor told him, "You'll never make it. You have an addictive personality. The most successful thing you can do with your life at this point is never use again. Drop all your grandiose ideas of money, fame, and success." Think about that for a moment. He was told that his core personality, his drive, was a disease he could never recover from. He was told to think small for the rest of his life. But as he stepped out of that treatment center, he made a different choice. He decided to embrace that addictive personality the counselor warned him about. He decided to use it as a gift. He went back to his tiny apartment, sat down with a piece of paper, and started writing down his new life. Not his past, not his problems, but his future. He wrote about becoming a master salesperson, about writing books, about making his family proud, and about becoming wealthy so he could help others. He gave himself permission, for the first time, to be fully and unapologetically obsessed with success. He decided to throw himself 100% into his dead-end job at a car dealership. He showed up an hour early and stayed late. He spent hundreds of hours studying his craft, watching sales training videos, and listening to self-improvement tapes. He redirected all the energy he had once poured into drugs into becoming the absolute best at his job. Within months, he was the dealership's top salesperson. This is where we get to the practical heart of the book. It's not enough to just feel obsessed, you have to harness that obsession. And the way you do that is by mastering two fundamental principles: feed the beast and starve the doubt. Let's talk about feeding the beast. The beast is your obsession, your purpose, your collection of massive goals. Cardone says that what you pay attention to is what you get. If you focus on your problems, you'll get more problems. If you focus on your potential, you'll expand your potential. Feeding the beast means actively and relentlessly focusing your time, energy, and resources on the things that make you stronger and move you closer to your goals. How do you do this? First, you have to get crystal clear on what your obsessions are. In the book, he provides a powerful exercise, a series of questions to ask yourself over and over again. Questions like, what excites me so much that I would do anything to accomplish it? What do I do that causes me to forget to eat? If I knew I couldn't fail, what would I do? The goal isn't to find one single passion. It's to identify the constellation of things that make up a complete and successful life for you: health, wealth, family, contribution, all of it. You don't have to choose. The obsessed demand it all. Once you know what you're obsessed with, you feed it daily. The most powerful tool for this is writing down your goals every single day. Not as a wish, like I want to be a millionaire, but as an accomplished fact, written in the present or past tense, I am a millionaire. When Cardone was broke, he would write, I own 20 apartments or more. At the time, he didn't even own one. Today, he owns thousands. He currently writes down, I have $4 billion in real estate holdings, a number 10 times what he currently has. Writing your goals down like this isn't magic. It's a focusing mechanism. It trains your brain to see opportunities everywhere that are aligned with your goals. You start to see everything around you as a means of achieving them. Another way to feed the beast is to get obsessed with learning. Turn your car into a mobile university with audiobooks. Study the super successful. Immerse yourself in knowledge. As Cardone puts it, don't just drink the Kool-Aid, swim in it. And critically, you must feed the economic beast. He is adamant about this. We live on an economic planet, and money is essential to getting anything done. He says you have to get your money right. Stop thinking with a scarcity mindset. Instead of complaining about the price of things, he developed a new mantra, who's got my money? He sees money as abundant and looks for ways to provide so much value that people are happy to exchange their money for his products and services. He spends 95% of his time focused on generating new income and only 5% on budgeting and expenses. You can't grow your company by making it smaller. You grow it by expanding the top line. Now, feeding the beast is only half the battle. The other, equally important half is to starve the doubt. Doubt, Cardone says, is the dream killer. It's the most insidious form of mental terrorism on the planet. And it comes from two places, from within you and from the people around you. To starve your internal doubt, you have to stop focusing on your past and your problems. He describes how he got caught up in the self-help movement of digging into his past to find the cause of his issues, only to realize that it just kept him focused on being broken. He eventually realized, you don't fix problems with problems, you fix them with success. He made a rule, only take advice from people who are more successful than you are. If you are the most successful person in the room, he says, you are in the wrong room. But the more dangerous source of doubt often comes from the outside world, from haters and naysayers. The haters are easy to spot. They're the people who are envious and want you to fail. Cardone has a surprising take on them. He loves them. He says if you don't have haters, you're not doing anything significant. He sees haters as his best promoters, because when they talk about him, they're spreading his name and his brand for free. Love me or hate me, he says, at least now you know me. The naysayers, however, are trickier. These are often the people who love you the most, your parents, your spouse, your best friends. They don't want you to fail, they want you to play it safe. They'll say things like, be careful, don't work too hard, or why can't you just be satisfied? His own mother was his biggest naysayer, constantly responding to his ambitious ideas with caution and fear. He learned that these people aren't trying to hurt you, they're trying to protect you. But their advice is poison to an obsessed mind. He makes a crucial point. People who try to persuade you to give up are not trying to help you, they are trying to make sense of why they gave up. You have to starve this doubt by refusing to entertain it. This means avoiding the common traps that society sets for ambitious people, like the myth of burnout and the myth of work-life balance. Cardone argues that burnout doesn't come from working too hard, it comes from losing sight of your purpose. When he was in his late 30s, he felt all the classic signs of burnout. He was tired, irritable, and losing his passion. But after some reflection, he realized the problem wasn't the work, it was that his goals had become too small. He was no longer obsessed with his monster purpose. As soon as he refocused on bigger, more exciting goals, the burnout vanished. Similarly, he calls the concept of work-life balance ridiculous. He says, "I am not trying to balance my life, I am trying to blow it up." The idea that you have to choose between a successful career and a happy family life is a lie told by average people. The obsessed find a way to have it all, because their drive for success in one area fuels their success in all the others. Once you've learned to feed the beast and starve the doubt, the next step is to dominate. This doesn't mean dominating other people, it means dominating yourself and your space. You have to dominate your own thinking, your time, and your money. You have to become an authority in your field. A powerful example of this is his approach to social media. When it first emerged, experts told him he was posting too much. His own brother told him to tone it down. But Cardone looked at the sheer size of the internet and realized that too much was impossible. He wanted to dominate the conversation around sales, so he became a content factory, putting out thousands of videos and tens of thousands of posts. The result? His online presence exploded, reaching hundreds of millions of people. He didn't follow the rules, he dominated the space until his name became synonymous with sales. This mindset extends to how you treat your customers. The old saying is under-promise and over-deliver. Cardone says that's a lie. He believes in over-promise and over-deliver. He tells the story of how his business was struggling until he started making giant, seemingly impossible claims to his clients. He would walk into a business and say, "Let me talk to your salespeople for 30 minutes, and I guarantee I'll get you 6 deals by noon today." This wasn't about deception. It was about creating an obligation for himself to perform at a legendary level. Making a huge promise forced him and his team to rise to the occasion. And by delivering on those big promises, he built a reputation for getting incredible results. He says it's unethical to have a great product and not pitch it with the massive claims it deserves. To build this kind of dominating enterprise, you can't be a one-man show. You have to build an obsessed team. He points out that 75% of small businesses in America have no employees, and their average income is a paltry $44,000 a year. That's not a business, it's a prison. For years, he made the same mistake, trying to do everything himself to keep expenses low. It was only when he started hiring people who shared his obsessed mentality that his business truly scaled. He looks for people who are willing to do whatever it takes, who are motivated by the opportunity more than the starting salary. He tells the story of his graphics guy, Paul, who said, "Don't pay me anything, let me just prove myself." He was hired on the spot and is now a top earner. Finally, the entire philosophy is held together by one last, crucial ingredient: persistence. Cardone shares the story of a time, early in his business, when he was completely beaten down. He was making hundreds of calls a day and getting rejected constantly. He was out of money and on the verge of quitting. Sitting alone at lunch, he asked for a sign, anything to tell him whether to quit or keep going. Driving home, he saw a license plate from Salt Lake City, a place he'd never been. He took it as his sign. He went back to his office and spent the next 3 days cold calling businesses in Salt Lake City. He flew there, and in 2 weeks, he made more money than he had in the previous 2 years. It was his miracle moment. Was the license plate a miracle? No. The miracle was that he refused to quit when every rational thought told him to. He persisted just a little bit longer than was reasonable. And that, Cardone concludes, is the ultimate secret. The difference between success and failure often comes down to staying in the game just a little longer than everyone else. Because most people quit right before the miracle happens. Commentary. As we step back and look at the landscape of be obsessed or be average, what strikes me most is that it's less of a business manual and more of a psychological manifesto. At its core, this book is about granting yourself permission. Permission to want more. Permission to be unreasonable in your ambitions. Permission to reject the comfortable, soul-crushing gravity of being average. In a world that increasingly champions balance, moderation, and playing it safe, Grant Cardone's message feels like a lightning strike. It's provocative, it's intense, and for the right person, it's incredibly liberating. For a young person, especially someone with that fire in their belly, this book can feel like finding an instruction manual for a part of yourself you were taught to suppress. Society often tells its most ambitious young people to slow down, to be realistic. This book tells you to press the accelerator to the floor. The most powerful lesson, I believe, is the reframing of obsession. We're conditioned to see it as a negative, a pathology. Think of the terms obsessive-compulsive or obsessed fan. Cardone brilliantly flips this on its head, arguing that obsession is the raw, untamed energy of creation. It's the common denominator among every great artist, inventor, and entrepreneur in history, from Michelangelo to Steve Jobs. They weren't balanced, they were completely, utterly, and beautifully obsessed. The practical advice in the book, Feeding the Beast and Starving the Doubt, is a beautifully simple framework for channeling that energy. It's a constant, daily practice. It's not about finding a magic bullet, but about the relentless, day-in day-out commitment to your goals. The practice of writing down goals every morning as if they've already happened is a profoundly effective tool. It's not just wishful thinking, it's a way of programming your focus, of tuning your mind to the frequency of opportunity. So, how can you start applying this today? You don't need to quit your job or start a company tomorrow. The journey begins with a single decision. Here's a simple action you can take right now, inspired by the book. For the next 7 days, take 2 minutes every morning when you wake up. Get a notebook and write down one goal. But don't write it as something you want. Write it as something you've already achieved. It could be about your grades, your fitness, a skill you want to learn. Instead of I want to get an A in math, write I am an A student in math. Instead of I hope to make the team, write I am a valuable player on the team. Don't analyze it. Don't judge it. Just write it. See what happens to your focus and your actions throughout the day. It's a small step, but it's the first step in learning to feed the beast. That was a summary of Be Obsessed or Be Average by Grant Cardone. We've explored the core ideas today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a photograph of a feast. You can see what's on the table, but you can't taste the food. The real power of this book is in its raw energy, in the way Cardone's relentless voice gets into your head and challenges you to think bigger. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is the right fuel for your fire. If anything we've discussed today has sparked something in you, if you felt that jolt of recognition, then I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning a few new strategies, it's an experience that can fundamentally change the way you view your own ambition. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, I'd be grateful if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next deep dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep feeding our minds and growing together.